Let me be clear from the start. If you are surprised by the Burnout Report 2026, then you haven't been paying attention, because the most important thing in this report is not the numbers. It's the fact that the numbers haven't moved. Right, 3 years, 91% of adults under high or extreme pressure. 91%. 1 in 5 taking time off for stress-related mental health. 2 in 5 if they're under 25. This isn't a crisis anymore. It's a pattern. And patterns tell us something that systems and many leaders don't want to admit. This report, published by Mental Health UK, is being positioned as a warning. But I don't read it that way. I read it as confirmation. Confirmation that awareness hasn't worked. Confirmation that wellbeing strategies haven't worked. Confirmation that manager check-ins and mental health days haven't worked. If you're a coach, a leader, or someone who works with humans under pressure, then there's a more uncomfortable truth here. Because what you were trained to do may no longer be fit for the reality that your clients or your people are living inside. So let's talk about the illusion of progress. Nearly a third of workers say their employer raises awareness of mental health, but managers don't have the time, training, or resources to actually support people. Awareness without capacity, language without action, policies without safety. That's not progress. None of that is progress. That's optics. And when organisations confuse talking about mental health with supporting it, burnout doesn't reduce. It deepens. It worsens. Because people stay silent longer. They mask harder. They push through until the body finally pulls the plug. And I've seen this firsthand on so many occasions. Organisations contact me to arrange a masterclass, but more often than not, they just want to tick a box to say that they've done burnout. So when I ask them what's next, I often get a blank stare because they weren't planning a what next. They just wanted the session to show that they were taking action. Now, I'm all for awareness raising, but awareness without action very often makes things worse because people are not stupid. And they know that leaders are only doing it as a box ticking exercise and they're tired of it. And they're bored of the same old tactics. They want and need change. And without it, it's no shock that moral injury is the leading type of burnout right now. Now, there is one statistic in this report that should fundamentally change how we work with burnout. 1 in 4 people who took time off due to extreme stress received no support when they returned to work. No structured reintegration, no recovery plan, no meaningful adjustment. Just back in. That's not recovery. That quite literally is a relapse waiting to happen. And if you work with clients who did everything right, they had the therapy, the time off, the coping strategies, and they still can't get traction, this is why. Burnout is not an event that you bounce back from, right? You don't just remove the stressor and everything becomes okay again. Burnout is a state change, a state change. It changes how the brain prioritizes threat, how the body conserves energy, how safe someone feels to think, decide, or imagine a future. So when someone returns to the same conditions with the same expectations and the same performance pressure, their system does exactly what it's designed to do. Their nervous system does exactly what it's designed to do. It shuts down again. And no amount of insight, motivation, or goal setting is going to override that. I've coached so many leaders back to work after burnout related absence, and I train burnout informed coaches in it now because I know that we can stop the relapse with the right level of coaching and support. Now let's talk about young workers because this is where the conversation often goes wrong. 40% of 18 to 24-year-olds are taking time off for stress. The lazy narrative is that they're fragile, but the accurate one is that they're responding normally to an abnormal environment. They're dealing with insecure work, unpaid overtime, rising living costs, constant performance visibility, and now the quiet threat that AI may replace them before they've even stabilized, before they've even found their place in the world of work. That's not a resilience issue. That's not laziness. That's chronic threat. And systems built on chronic threat produce burnout every single time. So if you're a coach watching this, here's the line that you cannot ignore. And it's one that I've been talking about now for a while. And it's that most coaching frameworks are not designed to help people with cognitive access, emotional bandwidth, and a nervous system that isn't in survival mode. And burnout removes all three, which means clients can agree with you. They can understand you. They can even do the work, and still nothing shifts. Not because they're resistant, not because you're ineffective, but because the approach doesn't match the state. And this report isn't just about workplaces. It's about a profession that hasn't caught up yet. This report calls for better manager training, earlier intervention, more support. All true, but it can't say this. Burnout cannot be solved by awareness. It cannot be solved by conversation alone. And it cannot be solved by asking people at burnout to adapt better to systems that are harming them. So until we change how leaders respond under pressure, how coaches work ethically with burnout in the room, and how recovery is understood as a process, not just a pause, we're just going to keep publishing the same report over and over again. We're just going to stick a new year at the top. Burnout isn't rising because we don't care. Burnout isn't rising because we can't see it. It's rising because we keep mistaking concern for competence. And until that changes, burnout will remain one of the most predictable outcomes of modern work. So if this resonates with you, don't rush to fix it. Sit with what it asks you to rethink. Because once you see this, you really don't get to unsee it.